Just because there's right.
I
We're live
can't hear
on
them.
YouTube. You can't hear them.
I can now.
You've got a dog called Austin.
Yes, Austin and Chewy.
I've got a cat called Ford Escort.
Right, we're live on YouTube. Let's just get everybody in and we'll get cracking. Because there's let's me see. Gone. Here we go.
That's Austin.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Teaching Live. It is, I think, is it week 7, Pi?
Week 7. Yeah, it's.
I think we're right.
Yeah, it's the last chapter, so we've got to wrap things up, and then we're onto other things. But it's actually all related, John. I've just discovered that John has a dog called Austin, and I've told him that I've got a cat called Ford Escort. And David's dog. What's your dog called?
My dog is called George Allen.
That's always amused me. I don't know why. George.
Well, I'll tell you the little story behind that is that obviously I've got my 2 children, one a very sensible 16-year-old and a quite insane 11-year-old boy, Will, who you know very well.
Yeah.
And so I gave them the choice. I said, look, Molly, you can choose the first name, George, and Will, being his usual bonkers self, chose Allen, and it stuck. George Allen.
Yeah. George Allen.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at a lot of there's some fantastic writing going on. I was looking at John Moore Primary yesterday, and some great writing by Clover, some fantastic writing by Elliot, a lot of really good writers in that school. So I've been sent some work for the anthology from the Cornish school.
No, not Cornish.
Fingham?
Bingen, well done, Pi.
Bingham, I got it.
They're not
Bingham.
Cornish. They're from Scotland.
Oh, they're Scotland, are they? I don't know why I thought they were Cornish.
kind of sound. It's yes.
It's the zine bit.
Yes, that does sound a bit Cornish, but they're definitely not in Cornwall, and I can hear the howls of protest.
Wrong end of the
world. Over the world from
okay.
The pupils of Fingen.
Yeah, so some very strong writing from there. So I've been looking at those, and I've got some of it myself, but I do need some more, John. That's what I'm saying.
Please do. Please use our TeachingLive email address just to send through. Just go through your children's writing, and if you can spot anything outstanding, really, really good writing, then send it through, and we'll make sure Pi gets hold of it. So,
I mean, there's a lot at JMPS, a lot at Turn Furlong. I mean, Mrs. Burton Gardner is going to have a problem. Bolton Parish, a lot going on there. Merton Bank, Silver Lake class. So yeah, there's a lot out there, but I do need help with some selection. I mean, I don't mind it if people send me, say, a dozen pieces or something. Okay,
it just helps a great deal if we can just narrow it down, doesn't it?
It does help, yeah. Otherwise, I'm looking at literally, thousands of pieces of writing.
Yes. What's the game today then, Pi?
Well, we're starting with our old friend. We're doing another story game just to warm ourselves up. And today the focus is on suspense. Last week we were looking at settings, creating an atmospheric setting by, in particular, using our senses and building a picture for the reader. Today it's building up suspense, getting the reader on the edge of the seat. So I thought we'd do the old unfortunately, luckily game. So, David, do you want to you have to start with a proposition. In other words, you have to start with a statement like George Allen ran to the door. All right. Now,
Okay.
so one of you, or between you come up with something like that. So let's say George Allen ran to the door. Now, David, you're going to do unfortunately, and I'll do luckily. So you've got to put him in a dilemma, a problem, and I've got to rescue him.
Okay.
And then you put him back in a dilemma, and we bounce it backwards and forwards. We'll do a few just to give everybody the idea if they don't know the game. So George Allen ran to the door.
Unfortunately, the postman had already turned and ran.
Luckily, he had shrinkage powers and managed to squeeze himself through the letterbox onto the path, where he enlarged himself back to normal size and gave chase.
Unfortunately, the postman, I'm going to call him Ronnie.
Ronnie the postman.
Ronnie. So unfortunately, Ronnie the postman grabbed his Rottweiler from the back of his van.
Ooh, luckily, how can I get George Allen out of this one?
Please do.
Luckily, the Rottweiler.
Austin the Rottweiler.
Sorry?
Austin the Rottweiler.
Austin the Rottweiler had eaten far too many sweets, rotted his teeth, and only had gums.
Unfortunately, George Allen didn't spot Chewy, in brackets, Austin's brother, charging down the pavement at an immense speed.
Luckily, a huge hole appeared. I've gathered there are 40,000 of these in Bolton, Lancashire. But anyway, a huge hole appeared in the pavement, and Chewy slipped down the hole, barking frantically.
Unfortunately, George Allen's leg had got caught up in the lead,
Ooh.
in Austin's lead, and slipped down the hole right behind him.
Okay, and then of course at half time, you swap over. So we need another. So I'll be doing unfortunately. So David, you need another. If you can give us a sort of a starter, a statement about somebody or an animal or something, somewhere or other doing something.
Okay.
Can be an everyday thing. That's usually easiest.
John, holding his chest, turned in horror.
Unfortunately, there was an enormous dragon just behind him.
Fortunately,
Luckily,
luckily, John had just finished reading the book, How to Tame Your Dragon.
Unfortunately, the book had been written by Boris Johnson, whose knowledge of dragons was slight.
Luckily, so let me just I've got to recap here. So we got the dragon. Yeah. Boris Johnson written the book, so I'm presuming it's not he's a good writer, but probably not.
Useless. He doesn't know about dragons.
No, I expect it's probably a lot of hot air. Luckily, John remembered one particular chapter where he thought he could remember how to stop the dragon breathing fire.
Unfortunately, As soon as John opened his mouth, he discovered that he'd lost his voice.
Luckily, John had finished college night school where he learned how to do sign language.
Right. I think probably it's actually quite hard to get out of the problems once they set you. It's not an easy game, but it's a nice one to play. So, John, I think 4 minutes on the clock, and then after 2 minutes, everybody swaps role, swap over. You need a proposition, and you're in business.
Okay, so I'll just get the time. Can everybody see that? The timer is up. So after 2 minutes, swap over. So the person that comes out with the statement at the start, so it's statement, then it's unfortunately, luckily, unfortunately, luckily. You've got the pattern. It couldn't be simpler. After 2 minutes, I'll get you to change over. So come up with your statement and off you go. Okay, time to swap roles. So you'll need to come up with a new statement. And if you were unfortunately before, you're luckily now. All right, that sound signifies the end of the game. So wherever you are in your problems, your dilemmas, you've now got the ultimate get out clause, and that's to bring yourselves back to the TV screens, and we will crack on with today's session. So we'll go to the Teaching Live website, go to this morning's session, the 9:30 a.m. session, and we will go straight to Padlet activity number 1. So what are we doing this morning, Pi?
Well, it's suspense. How to sort of build up the tension so your reader's on the edge of their seat thinking, what is going to happen? Are the characters going to be okay? So I've got a couple of paragraphs there, and then I've analysed how I've tried to build up the tension. Let's have a look. All night thunder growled overhead. Alone, Ty crouched in the darkness, staring. Wind lashed the sides of the skyship Aurora, buffeting her sails. Ty shivered. Were they safe from the storm? At that moment, Ty heard something crawling on the ship's rigging, hidden by shadows. Silently, a vague shape clung to the balloon and waited. A green eye flickered. Ty's skin prickled as he watched. What was it? Now, you can hear that's a piece of suspense writing, but let's have a look at how I've done it. So that first sentence, you've got two things in there, John. A, it's dark. So that idea of, if you want to scare the reader, put your main character somewhere or other in the dark or in the shadows or in the gloom or in a dark room.
Or mist.
Yeah,
Lost.
mist. Yeah. And then thunder growled overhead. We've got there is what I always describe as dodgy weather. So storm, lightning, thunder, mist is a good one, as you say, because the character can't see where they're going. Snowstorm, because they might perish, they might die in the snow from cold. So dodgy weather, but it's more than that. It's thunder growled overhead. So it's making it sounds as if the thunder is like an animal growling. So that verb is working.
Well, you could be in a desert, Pi, and have the sun beating relentlessly down, couldn't you?
Yes.
That's quite dodgy weather as well, because it's threatening.
Absolutely. So you need some dodgy weather, dodgy setting, darkness, and then you've got alone. So your main character is on their own. So put your main character in a dark place on their own with some dodgy weather and maybe a dodgy setting, and we're in business. But he crouched in the darkness. That is showing that the main character's a bit scared, because he's not striding around, he's crouching in the darkness and he's staring around thinking, where am I? What's going to happen? Then we've got some more dodgy weather with the wind lashing the sides of the skyship, buffeting her sails. So buffeting is when you've got the wind blowing powerfully against something, buffeting the sails. It's really blasting. Then you've got a short, tight, punchy sentence. Ty shivered. And short sentences are good for drama. David crouched down. Short sentence. And what we're doing there is, yes, he's cold, but also we're suggesting he's afraid. So we're suggesting how the main character feels through what they do. Then we got that rhetorical question. Were they safe from the storm? So that's revealing what the main character is thinking, but it's also a bit of a nudge to the reader. It's saying to the reader, come on, start thinking about this. Are they going to be safe in this terrible storm in a skyship where the wind is lashing the ship and buffeting the sails? Then if we look at the next one, we've got at that moment. So that's one of those classic sort of dramatic openers. So you've got at that moment, suddenly, in an instant, out of the blue, without warning. Notice the comma, John. At that moment, comma, and then the main character hears something. So get your main character on their own, dodgy setting, dodgy weather. Show them how the main character feels through their reactions, rhetorical question, dramatic start, and then they hear something, but don't give it away. Don't say Ty heard something, it was a big blobby monster, because that's just daft. sounds funny apart from anything else. So just hearing something, but keep it hidden so the reader's imagination really starts to think. And then we got silently, a vague shape. That's what we call a sort of empty phrase, something, a vague shape, a silhouette, an outline, it. So what you're doing is you're using an empty word like something or somebody to hide what it is, so the reader starts imagining the worst. And then a green eye flickered. So we've heard something, but we also see something, but don't give away what it is. Just an ominous, a scary little, a scale glinted in the darkness. So just have something or other, a scary detail that can be seen. And then can you scroll back up, John? I can't see the end of the paragraph. Thanks. Ty's skin prickles. So that's another one like Ty shivered. That's showing the main character's reaction. And then another rhetorical question. What was it? Now, you haven't got time to write a whole paragraph, but what I'd like you to do is to try some of those strategies that I've been talking about. So you'll be writing a sentence or a pair of sentences, trying some of those little techniques like a green eye flickered, or something was crawling in the darkness, or in an instant. So let's see. And remember,
David,
if you go to my text and look at it, then you can innovate on the back of some of those sentences, but trying out your own ideas, that's important. So you won't have my skyship and you won't have Ty. You'll have your own main characters that you can use, and take the basic writing tool, like put your main character in the dark on their own. You might have Georgia Allen sat in the darkness of the ship's hold, staring round him, something like that. So John's gone for the one that he's very pleased with, the deserty one, which of course is threatening because possibly nothing to drink. And if it's too hot, then he's going to get heat stroke and keel over. The sun hammered down relentlessly. So we got really powerful weather stroke setting. The heat sapped David's energy. He scanned the horizon. I feel a butt coming on. No, frantically. That's suggesting he's frantic. Well, it's telling us he's frantic. Looking for something. Anything. Dan, 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 dan. To suggest. So I can see we've got over 100 people writing at the moment. Just want to check that John gets the O in too, to suggest help was on its way or something, John. Yep, he's reread it, he's checked it, so he's going to submit it, and off we go. So we're looking for suspense sentences. The sun hammered, the sunny farm. Now, that's a nice go. You've got sun and sunny repeating, so you might want to nip back and change one of those.
Three people have already been back and just added the full stop they'd forgotten, which is nice.
Woohoo! Yeah, it's so easy. I make, as you know, John loves catching me out. Yusuf, you need to do the same thing. Deep, dark, lingering shadows dancing in the darkness, waiting for his prey. You've got something there. It just needs some tidying up, Yusuf, and you need a full stop. So you could go back and edit that.
Ryan from Turn Furlong. Bob sat in the dark, gloomy cave and saw a spider web and crawled to Bob. You need to have a look at that, Ryan. Now, think about how I hid what was coming towards him, his character. So rather than say he saw a spider web, something rustled in the dark. A little scurrying noise.
Isla from Bolton Parish. Now, if you have a look at yours, you'll see you've missed off something that you know. So go back and reread it. There's something that you absolutely know right at the beginning of the sentence that you need to sort out. I like Ryan's. A red dot appeared in the darkness. It's sort of simple and clear, but ominous. And Alexander, it seemed that Brian was alone in the darkness, or was he? So we've got loneliness, darkness, rhetorical question, making the reader think. 3 and 1, well done. Ryan, you've got your problem with dark, gloomy. They both mean the same thing. So choose one. A little bit of editing there. Emra, in the unknown forest, comma. And Will.
Austin from Turn Furlong. Thunder boomed as a swirling storm circled overhead. You need a full stop there, Austin. And I love this sentence. This is a really good, short, punchy sentence. Mysterious silhouettes shifted. So you just need to sort out your punctuation there. Split that into 2 sentences, Austin, and you've got something going.
So Nula's got a couple of good ones. Well done. Just watch out for those commas, everybody. Hader from Bolton Parish, all night, comma. The snow blew at a speed of light, covering the skyship. Dom and Dolly, Freddie heard a scratching noise coming from down the alley, comma. What was it?
Beanie from THS, frightened and worried, comma. Well done. Jake sat shivering alone in the corner of the room. Suddenly, comma. Need a comma there. He heard a noise. He looked up. Dun, 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 dun.
It's very much like that, isn't it?
Yeah, very good. Beanie.
Saskia, you need a comma after suddenly. Suddenly, the heat on the island started to drop drastically as a dark and gloomy. It's the dark and gloomy again. So choose one. Personally, I would always go for dark. As a dark, comma, mysterious storm cloud approached the 3 brothers overhead.
You're going on your gravestone. Here lies Pi Corbett, dark and gloomy. Alfie from Bolton Parish. Jax felt something weird. Something sat dancing in the shadows.
Ooh, repetition of 3, power of 3
yes,
there, John.
Yes, I'm not sure about sat dancing.
Yeah, that's odd, isn't it?
Because that's slightly odd, but you've definitely got something that going there, Alfie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Might work on that. Archie and Stan, in the cave there was a bear that was very large and hungry. It's not really building suspense because you've told me exactly what was in the cave and exactly why it's going to be dangerous. So I'm not sure about that one.
Adriana, cold and wet, comma, well done. Haribo sat in the coldness, ... awaiting to be visible. I think it's waiting to be visible. Ella, well done, Ella. All night lightning struck across the sky, semicolon. The wind howled and a strange silhouette of someone or something moved in the distance.
Bilal from Bolton Parish, you don't need to capitalize things like dark clouds and moved around. A creak came from the corridor. You don't need to capitalize those kinds of words.
Nia from THS, as the sleet hammered down on the pellucid glass window, Sophie screamed in horror as her business class seat's window burst, exposing her to the gloomy night sky. Now, you don't need gloomy because it's a night sky, so you could just say to the night sky, unsure if she was destined to survive. Dan, 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 dan.
So it's quite it's a technique that needs practice, isn't it, Pi? And if you go back to right to the top to Pi's model, and talk about the dodgy weather, the character being isolated, character's reaction in a simple, short, punchy sentence. There weren't too many of those in our examples there, were there?
No, we've got Claire, for instance.
Rhetorical question. Not too many rhetorical questions, are there?
Claire has got Lola and Max were going through the forest. Now, that were going was a great opportunity to suggest how they're feeling. So if you said Lola and Max tiptoed or crept through the forest, then you haven't said they're afraid, but it's obvious to the reader.
They're being careful.
Yeah. Is it time to come out, John? We've written.
It is indeed. Yeah, we need to come out of the Padlet, head back to the session page, and we will go to have a quick look at the audio Padlet, see what's been posted. And I think this week we're going to look for, I can find it, Ibrahim. Ibrahim is back. So we'll go to Ibrahim.
Does that mean that Ibrahim last year was year 5 and this year is year 6?
I guess so. I guess
it could have been year 4 last year and be year 5 now.
Well, so it's I don't know actually. Let's listen and see what we think.
Chapter 2: The Treacherous Town. Dom stared in terror as the ground came closer and closer towards them. They were plummeting down to what looked like an abandoned, demolished town. Captain RPS fought with the steering wheel, trying his best to take back control from the cloud maze so that he could land safely at the town hall. By Dom's side, Mia ran across the ship, holding a silver hammer, trying to fend off a weird maroon creature from the top of the balloon. Its gigantic rings glistened through the fabric, making an irreversible tear, like a bloody wound, out of which spilled the grey air that had kept them in the sky. With a loud groan, the skyship jolted down, landing in a place called Treacherous Town. Nia had finally been able to fend off the maroon Bigfoot, and they had flown all the way back to the stormy clouds. Dom glanced over the side at the dark town that coated the broken skyship. He saw 3 scary things: the wind blowing down the trees, howling in their ears, a mysterious shadow that was as dark as the midnight sky, and the skeleton staring at them with empty eyes. Mia too gazed at the demolished town. Behind her were broken marble buildings, which were probably magnificent once upon a time, but now they stood in sand. In a dark courtyard, countless pillars appeared. Wooden doorways stood half open, and gigantic side windows looked down. In an empty hallway stood a decaying statue of some Greek forgotten god. On a field, there were multiple non-functioning water fountains. The whole place was frightfully silent and mostly empty as the sky storm drifted to the south. The night sun had already begun to cast awkward shadows, and a freezing wind blew objects across the town. Half an hour later, the siblings found themselves sitting in border by themselves, as the others had already left in search of materials to mend the balloon, giving instructions that the children should not leave the ship. Dom and Mia sat on the deck, staring into the pitch black. A few glistening stars had appeared, and the plain white moon shone brightly above them. Suddenly, they heard a thud.
I'm going to stop it there because that was fabulous stuff. And there's another whole chapter to go. Pie.
Yeah, absolutely. That's his second chapter, and when he goes on to the baby goblin, he's got some wonderful ideas in there, like the tear in the balloon being like a bloodied wound. I think he said something like that.
Yes.
Some lovely ideas. In fact, I like it best when Ibrahim leaves my model and goes off on one a bit himself.
The particular bit that I like was his description of the town. Behind her were broken marble buildings, which were probably magnificent once upon a time, but now they stood in sadness. I thought that was really good.
Yeah,
as well. I quite liked. I know when he moved away, we liked that as well. But what I liked was there was subtle evidence of Ibrahim applying what he's learned through TeachingLive. For example, he saw three things.
Yeah, that was good. I was going to say that sentence of three that he did with the three scary things, the wind blowing down.
We've also got, half an hour later.
Yeah.
One of the tips we had about moving some time without having to describe what happened.
Yes.
And there was also another one that I can't remember now. But yeah, I kind of subtly put in there that really worked.
Yeah.
That was great.
He's one of a number of children who worked on TeachingLive for a long time now, and he's really worked hard at his. I can hear that he's one of those children that really loves the language and chooses his words and his ideas with great care. He's quite strict with himself in his word choice. He doesn't do dark and gloomy.
Right.
Writing. Well done.
Absolutely. Well done, Ibrahim. That was terrific. On to Padlet number 2.
Well, we're staying with the theme of suspense. Let's see. And this is really, it's the same sort of thing. And if you're going to write suspense, if you're going to keep your reader on the edge of the seat, write something exciting, you need to know these things really well. So at that moment, they heard something. So once again, we've got a dramatic opener. At that moment, comma, they heard something. So get your main character somewhere or other, and they hear and they see something, but don't give it away. And it's something, that's the empty word. And then we got the repetition, something or somebody, which someone tried out, didn't they, John? I can't remember who it was now. We had the repetition of something 3 times and it worked.
Yes.
It was crawling. Now, I regret that. Well, I don't know. It could be crawled, because as we said before, you can sometimes get rid of the was and the ing. Something or somebody crawled up the side of the skyship's hull towards them. So the threat is getting closer and closer. That's a good little technique. Mariana grabbed Ty's hand and pulled him down. So we're showing, we don't say Mariana was scared. We're suggesting it because through what she does, she grabs his hand and pulls him down. So they're hiding. Alone, they waited, hearts beating. So again, I'm not saying they were really frightened. The fact that they're waiting, crouching down with their hearts beating, tells the reader they're really scared. Another rhetorical question. What could it be? So you mentioned that, John, thinking about a sentence where you think about, okay, my main character's frightened. I don't want to say Mariana was scared. Mariana was frightened. I want to show it through what she does. And that's a little challenge there, as well as that rhetorical question. Let's have a look at the next bit. Peering over the edge. So we've got our old friend, the ing starter there. Peering over the edge. So that they've just sort of ducked up and they're peering over the edge. They're not standing up and going, whoa, what's going on there? They're peering over the edge. Ty could just make out a strange figure, an outline, a silhouette. I'm not saying what it is, because I want the reader wondering, clinging to the wooden hull with its sharp claws dug into the wood. So they heard something and now they can see something. And what they can see is claws. Previous one, I had a green eye flickered. This is claws. That is scary. A tongue flickered. So revealing another bit. and it's a short, tight, punchy, a tongue flickered, full stop. Ty shuddered. So that's another one where I'm showing how the character feels by what they do, how their body reacts. The hair on the back of his neck tingled. Ty shuddered as he whispered to his sister. Now, this is a bit harder because I'm building the tension here a bit. He's whispering, not saying, not shouting, but whispering, because he doesn't want to give away that they're there. And you've got to look really, if you're going to do speech, you've got to really look at how I've written that speech. It's a storm dragon. Now, obviously, you will have a different creature, but that idea of I've delayed it, and it's only in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's in the 8th line that we reveal what it is, because I want the reader using their imagination. So again, it's practicing building suspense, John.
Yeah, it's really, really, I mean, we can't say how many times. You need to open the Padlet, David. You mustn't reveal to your audience what it is, what is the threat straight away. Otherwise, there is no suspense.
Yeah, and that's a typical sort of weakness in writing, where people give it away too soon. So use those empty words, hide what it is, have something appearing out of the darkness, but let's have no dark and gloomy this time. Have a shadow. We don't need a gloomy shadow. They're all gloomy. So I can see we got 150, over 160 now, people working hard. Remember to reread before you submit, so you don't make a simple error like capital letter full stop. And if you don't know what to do, just take one of my sentences, copy it exactly, and change some of the words. Now, Alfie, that's interesting. You've got was spying. You've got an option there. You can say Josh spied a dark figure in the distance, but he couldn't make out what it was. Yep. All of a sudden, they heard a screeching on the skyship. Wondering what it would be, I like that, Mishka, Ella hid behind the rusty wheelbarrow while Ava tried to have a quick glance. She saw someone, ... Well done, Mishka. Nice paragraph.
Really good, Mishka. And that's showing contrast in the characters as well that we were talking about last week, which was where you had two characters reacting in different ways.
Mrs. BG, in the corner, a silhouette danced, advancing closer with every passing second. So what we like about that is the threat is getting closer, this dancing figure. I don't know why, it makes me think of clowns. Livana from TJS, at that moment, comma. You need a comma in there. You can knit back and sort that. Footsteps stopped the silence. Oh, I love that idea of footsteps stopped the silence.
Toby and Harry from St. Mary's, you need to sort out your punctuation here, but you've got something going. Jacob felt the skyship rumble. That's a sentence, needs a full stop. Jess screamed. That's a sentence, needs a full stop. Jacob looked over the ship's railing. And this is where you've told me straight away what it is. It was a desert dragon. Looked over the ship's railing and he saw something moving towards him. He saw something on the side of the ship. Don't tell me what it is. Build the suspense. Have a go at editing that and see if you can improve it.
Austin, claws scraped on the deck. I think you need a full stop there. Austin shuddered. and another full stop. A mysterious outline turned the corner. So a little editing there. Go for the full stops, but you're building attention nicely.
Matthew from Fingen, just then, comma, well done. Both of them heard something. It was climbing up the ship's deck. Good, you've kept it hidden. I don't know what it is. How do the characters react? Well, Thomas pulled Dillian, I like that name, down to get out of sight. So that's really good, Matthew. That's exactly the kind of thing that we're talking about.
Nuala from Mull, Alexa's eye darted around, searching for the source of the sound. She found it. She wished she hadn't. Like that. Blessing, Letty eye. I think you mean Letty's eye caught a dark silhouette in the distance. I like that. I'm not so sure about with loud banging footsteps coming closer. I think it's the loud banging. It's a bit like dark gloomy. They sort of mean the same thing. To have a look at that, Blessing. You're onto a good idea, though.
Henry and Josh from St. Mary's. John's eye caught a glimmer of black. Long claws began to reach over the horizon. Was this the day John died? Let's hope not. Couple of folk submitting theirs without looking at capital letters and things like that.
That's interesting. Tanny from Turn Furlong. Although you need to look at the spelling of that, but although it was dark, comma, all he could see ahead was death. Harvey, the whispering wind lashed through the sky. Now, I sort of like the sound of it, but it's whispering, but it's lashing, and I don't quite know if that works, but maybe it does. Sophie and Ayla, Annabelle was frightened. Annabelle, you need a capital letter. It's a person, and it's the first word of your sentence. Hold on, Pippi. Alone at night, something was gradually creeping closer and closer. You're getting at threat coming closer and closer. Beatrix Maxwell, out of the corner of his eye, saw a long black hand with dirty white nails, prowling towards them. He hoped the creature could not hear his heartbeat. Full stop. It stood into the moonlight. It was a direwolf. It's an interesting idea. Not a werewolf, but a direwolf.
Mm.
Nuala, need a capital letter for Flora, so you could go back and change that and have a look at the spelling of something.
Anya from Turn Furlong. Philip could now make out two green, beady eyes glaring menacingly at them. A few seconds later, jagged teeth appeared, and Philip knew this meant nothing good. That's great, Anya. Right, we need to come out of the here pipe because time marches on. So we need to have a look at go back to the session page, look in the gallery. Can't remember what it was last week.
Character.
Ah, yes, it was yeah, we did the wacky backgrounds the week before. So, I like that one from Charlotte straight away. That's terrific, that Charlotte. Really good. I love the way you've done the hair on that picture. That's Charlotte from John Moore, was it?
Yeah.
I like the way that John Moore have been using these half. Gosh, there's loads from John Moore.
Yeah.
I've been really busy. And a few from Truro as well. There's one from Truro, that's good, but it's sideways. Ada.
Yeah, it's very hard to do. When I taught John, we used to sometimes have for our long stories, we used to have a page where we'd have a sort of character gallery. So you'd have little pictures of the main characters, the goodies and the baddies in your story. That's come out well, hasn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's again another one with terrific hair. Really good character, that one. That's Amelia, also from John Moore. So John Moore have gone to town on this week. Had a real go at, and I like that one as well. Liliana's.
Yeah, the way the eyes are looking to one side has brought it alive.
The shadow
Yeah.
as well. That's very good, Liliana.
Because it's actually very hard to do.
It is. It is very hard to do, and it's does take a lot of practice. I always think portrait artists must be very, very talented people. So we'll go back to
Do you ever look at this
and we'll have a look at this week's
Yeah, I'm quite pleased with this week's one.
I never know. It's always a big moment of excitement for me, this because I never know what you've come up with.
There you are.
Yeah, it's one of your favorites, this one.
Yeah, I love this because it's color and design.
Yes.
And these are just pencil crayon ones. But if you scroll down a little bit, oh, that's beginning to get a bit more elaborate there.
Yeah, so you got all the scales
Scales in the background, yes.
Yeah.
So different possibilities. And there's a display. Can't for the life of me think which classroom it was, but these are big and bold. So these are large.
Yeah, and they really worked carefully on the scales around the eyes, dragon's eyes. So I'm sure dragon's eyes are something you can Google to get lots of ideas as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a close up of a dragon's eye, lots of detail, I think. So you could just do it nice and simply and just do the outline of the eye. But I think the best ones are going to be where you've got the scales.
Yes.
On the eye, the scales of the dragon. Those green ones are really, they're picking your colors important as well, because green and red do go well because they're good contrasting colors. There's some really terrific ones there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, dragon's eyes. Yeah, that's one of your favorites. We've done that one plenty of times on TeachingLive. I know that's
it's an old standby because you can
you
can spend half an hour or an hour on it to do one of those large ones with the scales, or you can just do a few little designs.
Yes.
So it's a nice one, John, in terms of how much time you've got. Everybody can succeed at this as long as they do it carefully.
And it's one you can do at home as well. It's good, good fun way of whiling away a quiet hour of an evening. So you can do that at home too, and submit them. You can go onto the TeachingLive website, go to the gallery and submit them from home. Right. Yeah. The final chapter. So this is always of interest to me because how's Pi going to resolve the story?
Yeah, it is tricky because you're writing a long story. You let your characters loose and somehow you have to wrap it up at the end. So it does need some thinking. I've called the chapter 4 Onward. So, and then I've done that old trick you mentioned earlier of using a time shift several hours later. So I don't need to go into all the detail about what happened. I just say several hours later, the crew had returned, patched the skyship's air balloon, and they were now sailing through the night with only the stars to guide them. Mariana had found a space in the hold for the baby dragon. It had eaten well, falling asleep almost immediately. Ty stood alone on the deck. And instantly I say that word alone, John. You
I'm
know,
thinking something's going to happen.
yeah, if you've got a character on their own, it's never good news. Wondering, so I've got him doing some thinking here. We're revealing what the character's thinking, wondering whether he would ever see home again. The moon cast a silvery light onto the clouds, and the odd star shone through. Mariana came up to be with him. She thought that she would never tire of the wind in her hair. So we had Ty wondering, and now we've got what Mariana's thinking. She thought that she would never tire of the wind in her hair, and the great sky ship moving silently just below the ragged edges of the clouds.
So here you've got, rather than dodgy weather, you've got
Yeah.
a nice, peaceful, calm scene.
Yeah.
Everything's all right, but because you've got Ty stood alone on the deck, you know that
Yeah.
it probably isn't going to stay that way. So this is different from the dodgy weather suspense. This is everything's fine. Everything's going just fine.
Yeah, I often call it lull the reader into a false sense of security.
Yeah.
So they think everything, the reader thinks, oh, that's lovely, everything's right. And you can see them sort of leaning on the edge of the sky ship, looking down, and everything's beautiful, and then whack them with something. So here I'm going to whack them. It was then that they both heard something. Something or somebody was crawling up the side of the sky ship's hull towards them. Mariana grabbed Ty's hand and pulled him down. Alone, they waited, hearts beating. What could it be? Ty crossed his fingers, hoping it wasn't the dragonlet's mother. An angry dragon parent could be a terrifying sight. Peering over the edge, Ty could just make out a strange shape that appeared to be clinging to the wooden hull. Ty shuddered as he whispered to his sister, I can't see what it is, but it looks huge. Look, is that an eye? Captain O'Shea appeared, leant over the railings and chuckled. That's the landing ship's light. It's tiny flying craft that we sometimes use if we don't want to dock the whole sky ship. You two need to be in your bunks, or you'll start to imagine all sorts of things. 10 minutes later, another time shift there, John. 10 minutes later, 10 minutes later, should have had a comma there. 10 minutes later, They were both asleep, dreaming of dragons and skyships and great adventures. The stargazer drifted on silently through the night towards dawn. And I don't quite know why there is the closing speech after the word dawn.
I don't know either, Pi.
No, I think that's where the writer hasn't reread and double checked.
Yeah, I suspect that's the case. So 10 minutes later, comma, they were asleep, dreaming of dragons and skyships and great adventures. Nice sentence of 3.
Yeah.
Stargazer drifted on silently through the night towards dawn.
So you've got to sort of wrap the whole thing up, but I've injected a tiny bit of suspense at the last minute. They think it's the dragonlet's mother, the baby dragon's mother, but actually it's a tiny flying craft, a landing ship. That's the landing ship's light. It's a tiny, I missed out the word a. It's a tiny flying craft that we sometimes use if you don't want to dock the whole sky ship. It's a bit like a tugboat, a little boat that pulls in a large boat.
Okay, so we've got the usual. You all know how to do this now. You've been doing this for weeks, so we will look forward to your final installment of the Skyship adventure. See how you resolve it yourselves. We're looking forward to that one, and if there's half as good as Ibrahim's story, then we will enjoy playing some final episodes next week. And of course, once you've got all 4 together, you can then you can copy them off the TeachingLive website, edit them all into a book or something like that, and display them in your classroom. And if you do anything like that, please submit. You can submit photos of displays in the gallery as well as your dragon's eyes. So we love seeing pictures of how you've displayed all your writing that comes out of TeachingLive, as well as obviously submitting it to the website. So that's it for this week. We hope you've enjoyed your 4 weeks of story writing. Next week we'll be back following on from our story. What we do? Can you remember what we're doing next week, Pi?
We're continuing with dragons.
More dragons.
More
Okay.
dragons. It's dragons all the way now.
Right.
Yeah, we're doing information reports, information about dragons, which we love doing. So
well, yeah, and you can very easily tie this stuff into your Skyship adventure work as well. If you
absolutely, yes. So think carefully about the I think I say it's a storm dragon or something, isn't it? So think carefully about the type of dragon you're going to be writing about next week. So what species of dragon are you going to have? Will it be the Tern Furlong Lesser Spotted or the Bolton Parish Wanderer dragon? I don't know. If you're a confident writer, just you don't have to cling to my text. If you're less confident, then you might find it useful to use it as a scaffold for your writing. But if you're confident, you can leave it behind, but you've got to try and wrap the story up by the end. So it's bye from me.
And it's bye from me.
Can't hear a word you're saying.
David,
sorry,
not saying anything at all.
It is bye from me now. Just to let everyone know the Padlets are all up to date. Do go back and have a look. There's some cracking stuff on there today. Well done, everybody.
Yeah, great writing. Well done, everyone.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.